Garland, yeah, I'm not an English major, so you'll have
It's
to
Italian.
forgive me.
I've got a handout for the kids, I think. Send one for them. I got a thing. This one.
Yes, sir, it is.
It's got Favorito.
Favorito?
Yes, yes. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I do appreciate Representative Pell's work on this bill and all the criminal justice reforms that are in it. But the issue before you is the fact that this massive new power that is being granted to the governor in this bill are not necessary to achieve the criminal justice reform. That is the fundamental point of the bill. This is massive, new, unchecked power, and we're going to talk about that. And it's political power, not the power that's currently distributed to the different agencies. So again, I appreciate Representative Powell's work on the bill, and I've known him for a long time, and I consider him a friend. But I do have to agree with Attorney Bernard's testimony. The bill as it's presented does not appear to be presented in a truthful manner to the committee. And the reason that I say that, and we'll go through just a couple of these points since I only have about 3 minutes, but basically these new entities are not, there's no procedure to dissolve the existing ones that are being consolidated, and as Attorney McConnell has already explained, in point 2, we have Department of Community Supervision has a massive new, no limitation whatsoever on the number of units, and no limitation on the number of employees that can be hired. Now I'm referring to lines 168 to 182 of the bill. So imagine this, we're going to have hundreds of new communities, units out there with the potential of thousands of employees. And this is not unplugging and replugging. I keep hearing this argument over and over again. All you have to do is look at the bill to see that this is a massive expansion of government. And most of you ran on the principles of a limited government, as Attorney McConnell has already said. And this is unlimited government. This is not limited government. But it gets worse. As we go down to the police power issue in lines 191 to 204, it allows the commissioner to confer full police powers on any or all of the department's employees. Now, the thing to understand here is that this police force is operating outside of the Department of Public Safety. It's reporting to the governor through this new Department of Community Supervision. It is, in turn, a political police force. Now, this, in addition, this police force can assist law enforcement in maintaining the peace, according to lines 201, 204. And in addition to that, the Department of Community Supervision gets pretrial release program authority in certain cases. So what you've got here is the governor can, if you were out protesting the governor's policies, a governor could have you arrested with his police force, put you in pretrial release, impose restrictions or sanctions on you without you ever being convicted of a crime. It's right there in the bill. All you have to do is read it. So
You're at 3 minutes.
okay, so to sum up then, thank you very much. But the public is unanimously against this bill for the reasons I've just stated. That's why you see no one here from the public to testify in favor of this bill. And the question really is, before you is, do you work for the governor or do you work for the people of the state?
Mr. Williams, you have a question?
Yeah.
Senator Williams.
I'm going over the handout that you provided to us, and thank you so much for that. I know that several of these things we've already addressed, such as the authority to bestow police powers. But number 7, where it says bestows judicial authority on department on DCS to handle cases, situations, and hearings that would normally be handled by a judge or court. I know Ms. Bernard kind of spoke to the same thing.
Right.
And you referenced lines 616 through 640.
Right.
If you look in section 42-3-113, line 590, does that not put within the confines what DCS is able to do? They don't have haphazard at-will authority to do whatever they want. They're limited to the authority granted to them by the judge. If they want to extend that authority, they have to go back to the judge before they can do that.
On that particular point, I'm going to defer to Attorney Bernard since she's coming back up. But what I would like to mention, Senator Williams, is this is political power. Currently our power is distributed. The issue that has caused the public concern is the fact that this is all going to be politicized into a larger organization now, directly responsible to the governor, and it's outside the control. In the case of the police force that you and Senator Watson have explained very well, but the problem is that it's operating outside of the Department of Public Safety, and therefore it can be politicized. And we don't want the governor to have a politicized police force any more than we would want the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany back in the 30s. So we need to keep the police force within the public safety. That's one of the main issues.
Well, to that point, I would say the Department of Natural Resources, the Department of Corrections, the Board of Pardons and Paroles all have police power, and they all have policing authority within our state. So it's not just the Department of Public Safety in the state of Georgia that controls police power. And also in the bill, it says these individuals must meet the requirements as set forth in all applicable laws. In other words, to me, that means that these individuals would have to meet the requirements set forth to be an officer in this state, a duly recognized officer in this state. Senator Albert, you have a question?
I do, thank you. Garland, good to see you. The Department of Public Safety, we have two of our officers right here, and the colonel's running around somewhere. Do you know who the colonel reports to?
The Colonel of the Department
Yes.
of Public
State
Safety
Police.
reports to the governor. I think you're trying to do that.
That's correct. So if the Department of Public Safety already reports to the governor, how would this be any different?
Well, it's obvious the Georgia State Patrol is operating within the Department of Public Safety. Okay, there's more potential. I think there's more regulations and rules to follow that depoliticize that than there would be under this Department of Community Supervision.
Well, but what you were saying was, what you told me and what I heard is now this is all gonna report to the governor. But the Department of Corrections, who do they report to?
No,
The governor.
right.
Right, they already report to the governor, right? So to say that we're going to streamline that power somewhere different, that really would be a fallacy. I mean, they already exist today, those agencies, they report to the governor.
Right, I'm not disputing that.
Right.
But I think that the Department of Community Supervision seems to be a highly politicized group, which I don't think we have today. It's because the governor has massive power, which the bill grants in lines 175 to 182, 168 to 182, the governor has power that's unchecked by the legislature.
All of that is limited to the appropriations process by the legislature, though. Would that not be correct?
It's not stated, it might be.
Well,
It's
it would
not
have,
stated.
it is. It's implied because the legislature controls the appropriations process. And to that point, and Senator Albers was correct earlier in stating that there is no expansion of appropriations with this legislation because the appropriations that are received by the individual agencies that are being moved or boards or et cetera that are being moved under this new department, their appropriations follows them to that department.
Mm-hmm.
So this new department will have to work within the appropriations given to it by these other departments that were already appropriated by the legislature. So they're constrained to those appropriations. They can only hire according to those appropriations.
And I agree with that point, I understand it, but I don't understand, I agree with Attorney McConnell. I do not understand this could possibly end up being a revenue neutral bill when you have this kind of power.
Well, they're subject to the
178,
appropriations that the legislature grants the departments. And they will not be able to, we've already passed the FY16 budget. And the Senate has. It's in the conference committee now. We're going to pass that out. Therefore, those appropriations for this agency, if this bill becomes law, has already been done. That money has already been determined. It cannot increase once this legislature sine dies on day 40.
So is that in the bill? I don't see
It doesn't have to be in the bill because it's in the Constitution. Not only is it in the Constitution, it's subject to the appropriations process of this legislature. Senator Williams?
Yeah, just while you guys were talking, I was able to look at number 8 as well, which talks about, and I know Ms. Bernard discussed pretrial diversion and being put into this DCS model without being convicted or even going before a judge. I want to read lines 488 and 489.
Okay.
The court in which a person is charged with a felony for which bond is permissible under the law, may, upon the application of the person so charged, at its discretion, release the person prior to conviction upon recognition of the supervision of a pretrial release. So this is at the person requesting this. It's not forced upon them. Now, I know you can say that their arm being twisted or this is the easier way or whatnot, but in the bill, it is at the, specifically upon the application of the person charged.
I will defer that question to Attorney Garland. She's coming back in here.
Understand.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.